Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Ustaz Amin Ahsan Islahi, while explaining the first verse of Surah Nisa, has actually presented the foundations of a society. He has explained how important it is to realize that a society which comes into being as a result of certain stipulations is of paramount importance. Before I actually explain his view, I would like to read out this Quranic verse, which is the first verse of Surah Nisa, and its translation before you, and then explain how Ustaz has actually put forth those foundations. So the words are, Ya ayyuhan nasu ttaqu rabbakum allazi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida wa khalaqa minha zawjaha wa batha minhuma rijalan kathiran wa nisaa wattaqullaha allazi tasaaluna bihi wal arham Inna Allaha kana alaykum raqiba. Mankind, fear your Lord, who created you from a single person, created of like species his mate, and from these two scattered countless men and women in this world, and fear God, through whom you seek mutual help, and fear breaking mutual relationships, fear breaking blood relationships. Indeed, God is watching over you. So this verse, dear ladies and gentlemen, is of paramount importance as it spells out the foundations of a human society. And as has been explained by Ustaz Amin Ahsan Islahi, the first founding pillar of a human society is that mankind has been created by a single creator, God Almighty. He is the person who has brought all of us into existence, and we owe a lot to him. We have certain obligations that we owe to him, and we have to realize that if he has created us, he must have created us with a purpose. And if we have this cognizance of good and evil, with this awareness of good and evil within our own selves, we can clearly see that because of this awareness of good and evil which is found in us, we will be held accountable one day before the Almighty. We must not think that this world has come into existence of its own and there will be no accountability. The God who has created it and given us this awareness of good and evil is going to take account from every human being. The second foundation, and of course which is of paramount significance as well, is that this world has been created through a single pair of human beings, Adam and Eve. And the most important result of this is that all human beings are equal. They must not regard one another to be superior to the other. Whether it's color, whether it's race, whether it's your own country of origin, it could be anything. Nothing at all makes us superior as human beings. We are all equal. We have been created as equal, and therefore we have to be treated as equals. We must treat each other as equals. And this advice and counsel of the Quran, which of course has always there before us, we can see how it has been violated even in the recent past. Ever since mankind has been created, this class difference has always been there. But look at just the last 100 years, you'll find people like Hitler claiming to be superior, and that the Aryan race to be superior and the Semitic race to be inferior to them. He was responsible of exterminating millions of Jews, killing them mercilessly, ruthlessly. And then we find this so rampant even today. If you look at the history of the United States, we see how the Afro-Americans were treated. And today, still, this treatment is to some extent still going on in the form of white supremacy. And we see how these Afro-Americans actually were treated worse than animals. They were kept as animals, where they were kept as slaves. They were kept in subhuman conditions. And of course, in our neighboring country, in Pakistan's neighboring country, which is India, we see the caste system still rampant there. And it beats me why there is no voice against this caste system. We don't see any world voice, anything from the UN maybe, or anything from any recognized body which actually calls them to account at why is it that people who are created equal have been bifurcated in such castes, and we have the lowest caste, which is of course the Shudras, and the way they are treated and burnt to death, because at times if they happen to do certain things which violate the sanctity of the rest of the classes or the rest of the caste system, people who live there, they are really taken to task in this form. So this is something again which is so disturbing for us, that human beings which were created equal from the same Adam and Eve, we are cousins, we are maybe second cousins, or 10 times or 20 times removed from the same family tree, but we still are cousins. And the way we treat each other is something that we really need to be ashamed of. And it's not just people who are outside the folds maybe are such. Even amongst Muslims, we find Arabs, for example, they think that they are superior Muslims. We find Sayyids, for example, to be superior Muslims. We look down upon non-Muslims. We think that we are children of a superior God and they are children of a lesser God. This, of course, is very unfortunate, and it's absolutely against the teaching of the Quran. The Quran spells out this, that we are born equal. We must have equal rights as human beings. Of course, a person can be more talented, a person can have more abilities and qualities which could place him at a different rung in the society. But this does not mean that people who have lesser abilities or have different responsibilities should be treated as lesser human beings. They have to be treated in the same manner, in the same way as we treat any of us. And this Quranic verse, as has been explained by Ustaz Amin Ahsan Islahi in his Tadabbur Quran, and as I said, is the first verse of Surah Nisa, is an abject lesson for us. It's an object lesson for us that we have to realize that human beings, come what may, they must always put humanity first. Humanity is our first bond of connection with our fellow brethren. We are human beings first, and it is only after human beings that we may be Muslims or Christians or Jews or Americans or Pakistanis or Europeans or have any different color. Our basic bond of connection is the bond of humanity. We have to realize this, that this is the teaching of the person, of the being who brought this world into existence. He has told us that we are born from the same Adam and Eve. We are born of the same parents. And how can we disregard this and regard ourselves to be superior and some of the other people as inferior? This is nothing but arrogance. And we have to realize that one of the biggest things that plagues humanity is this arrogance, this sense of superiority. We have to realize that all of us are weak and feeble and meek human beings. We have our own agenda to correct, and that is our own faults. We have to keep an eye on our own faults. We have to keep an eye that as human beings, instead of getting after correcting other people, our first and primary responsibility is to correct our own selves, is to look into our own selves, is to introspect, is to look into hindsight, is to look how we are behaving. And if we keep an eye on our shortcomings, it will keep us humble. It will make us realize that in spite of the fact that we may have some abilities, we still have a lot of work to do vis-a-vis correction. So not only this, Ustaz Amin Ahsan Islahi has also explained that the last part of this verse is also very important to keep in mind, and that is وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامِ, that fear God through whom you seek mutual help. And when we seek mutual help, the aspect that we often forget is that when other people also seek mutual help and they have certain obligations towards us, we forget them. So we are very, very attentive to some of the obligations other people might owe to us. We are very concerned that other people might fulfill their responsibilities towards us. But are we also similarly so concerned that we have responsibilities and we have obligations to other people as well? So Ustaz has also pointed out in this direction that we have to realize that just as we invoke God to seek mutual help, we must realize that there is a time then we have to be on the giving end. We have to be the people who at times have to help other people, and we must not forget God at that time as well. And last but not the least, Ustaz Amin Ahsan Islahi has also outlined and also stressed this fact that the word ittaqu, Ya ayyuhan nas ittaqu, mankind fear God, has a very special significance here, and that is that we have to realize that one day we will be held accountable before God. We have to fear that accountability, because that accountability is going to really lead either to eternal doom or to eternal success, because of the fact that God is watching over us. He is going to take His account. He is going to judge us, and that judgment is going to be final. We must never forget that judgment. And of course, if that judgment is never forgotten, we as human beings would always remain humble, will always remain in our own shoes. We will always realize that the task ahead, all of us, is to consider every single person that we encounter to be an equal human being, if not even better. We must not think ourselves to be superior to any race, and we have to remember that this is the message of the Quran. And we Muslims, perhaps, who were the standard bearers, or should have been the standard bearers of this message, have unfortunately taken the entirely opposite route when we think that we are superior to all other people. We are a superior race to the rest of mankind. This is not what the philosophy of the Quran is. We have forgotten that philosophy, and we do wish that we keep revising this verse of the Quran and make ourselves realize that as human beings, we are very ordinary people, and as human beings, we have no right to regard any other person to be inferior to us. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.